Leafs Talk, JD Bunkis, Justin Bourne. Good to see you, buddy.
Hi, Bunk. How are you?
I am swell. It's always great to see your handsome face. The Leafs win. They beat the Habs. Nothing sweeter for me. I grew up with the Forever Rivals DVD, and there's something, I don't care how bad the Habs are. Actually, they were VHSs, now that like a true confession.
Yeah.
But there's just something sweet about beating the Montreal Canadiens. But tonight, actual storyline. Sheldon Keefe goes, spreads the love around, has a period where it's kind of quiet, and then has a second where there's a big outburst. What'd you think about the new lines?
I think it's great. I mean, I have been an advocate on Real Kipper and Bourne for them to keep spreading that talent around a little bit. I like having the core four across three lines. And also for some time, and I believe with you too, have been advocating for Matthews to see if he can drive a line. That's what superstars do. It's what Crosby did for years. And yeah, I mean, I'm going to be a wet blanket right away and just be like, so tough to tell if it works because it's Montreal.
Yeah, I know. Buddy, it's not a wet blanket. I had the same thought. In fact, I tweeted it in the middle of the second period. I was like,
works great, but I can't tell if it does against NHL teams.
Well, okay. Here's what I can tell. All right. Here's what I can tell and what I can give credit to. One is good for Sheldon Keefe for not just letting it go 20 minutes and putting the lines back in a blender, because we've seen this from him in the past, right? Like, he can get an itchy trigger finger when something's not working, and it's 0-0, and the Leafs weren't exactly generating a ton of offense early. And I was genuinely sitting there going, please don't do this, Sheldon. Please don't start the second period with 34-16. I'm going to pull my hair out, because I actually thought that line was kind of at least doing something in the first period. And then he let it roll. And then lo and behold, every single one of the lines scores. And I say, hey, at least now you have something to look at and something to build off.
Yeah, like admittedly frustrating that there's 7 games left in the season and we're doing this now, but hey, better late than never. And I like what it's done for some of the players. I think Domi is made way more important when you configure the lines this way. I think a guy like McMahon stays important when you say the third line matters to us. It's not just our cast-offs, we're prioritizing that group too. So yeah, I was really happy with how that looked by and large. And I think if you're the Leafs, as you said, 4-2 in Montreal with Nick Kypreos in attendance on Hockey Night in Canada.
He was
in the building.
He was in the building, loving it.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm into it. My other thoughts are just like the things that I know now is Mitch Marner can make a pass to a lot of people. Like, we saw that gorgeous pass from Bobby McMahon that they end up scoring on. And I went, hey, this might work. This might be all right.
Like he plays with Tavares for a year. Tavares has a career high with 47. Matthews constantly scores, plays with another guy who can shoot it in the net. And first game together, he shoots it in the net. It's like you can create another scorer by adding Mitch Marner to them, which is wonderful. How do you think Mitch looked in his return? Any overall thoughts?
I thought Mitch looked very much like Mitch. Like that's my deep, insightful. And that's why they pay me the big bucks to do this show, is I say things like, I thought Mitch looked like Mitch, which to me is just a good thing. He looked totally normal. He made a beautiful pass. I didn't think that he looked rusty whatsoever. Like, he looked fresh. He looked healthy, which I think is all you can ask for. My only thing is, if Bobby McMahon knew that he was going to get run with Marner potentially to score goals like that, you think he signs the contract? Like, you think he wants to do
just give me a couple of weeks with Mitch and let me see. Let's talk numbers after that.
Like, if he scores 4 big goals in the playoffs, right, over like 2 rounds, 4 or 5 goals, like, what is the price? Right?
It's funny. It's the most I've quickly turned on a Kipper take, which was that the McMahon contract's a bad contract for McMahon. Like, he became relevant. I don't know what the date was in January. He's going to end up with a 15 to what's he got? 15 now, right?
Yeah. He cleared waivers this year, buddy.
He cleared waivers.
He and Benoit, both 2 guys that cleared waivers and both got contracts with the Toronto Maple Leafs.
You got to take that money, that 2-year guarantee you're going to be in the league. But Kip's just like, that's over. Yeah. He's got 15 in half a season. Like, he's going to be a guy that, if he had a good playoff run, could have been a, I don't know, $3 million a year guy.
I just like that he has some finish to him. And that's why I think that the Marner line might work here for a little while. Like, this is basically what I want to ask you is, do you think that there's going to be anything we're going to see? Because, okay, it's Montreal, right? And it's funny because Toronto's actually playing for things in the standings. Like the standings are tight. Tampa's nipping at their heels. They're actually close to Florida. Like they're right there on Florida. They could easily get home ice.
They got some help today. Yeah, both ways.
Yeah, but it's kind of funny because we talk about it as though all these games are so meaningless because people here don't really care who they play.
Right.
But the games are actually meaningful in terms of the standings, right? Like we've all been doing the Matthews hunt for 70, and McKee is shaking in his little boots about the idea of Austin Matthews getting slashed across the wrist in game 82.
I've seen your tweets at him about this is like his worst fear that like Matthews scores. And what is that about? That's
what this is about, is he doesn't basically want him to play games. He's just living in fear. And I had Sixero on my show on Thursday, and I laughed with him because he had the same take as McKee. And I went, only in Toronto is a guy potentially going to go 70 goals. And all people are thinking is, how is this going to embarrass us? And will he get hurt? Like the damage.
The stupid thing is you can't get ahead of the embarrassment because you don't see embarrassment coming. Like that's the obvious way it happens. It's going to happen much worse than that.
So I have been inspired. I am going to be doing a segment on my show this week of what are the worst things that could happen to Toronto sports this year.
Terrible segment.
I want to talk it out. I feel like you can kind of try to prepare for it. Well, like the Penguins are red hot. They're coming in here Monday night hunting for a playoff berth, and all of a sudden they look dangerous. Bunting
just lights it up.
Yeah, like it's, you know, the Matthews window. There's some things in there. So I do want to go over it. But yeah, okay. So for you, like, are you on board with the Matthews 70 hunt? Because like every night it's becoming more and more reality that this is like very much on the table. And okay, let's put it this way. Are you in for it? And would you say at this point it is likely?
No, I don't think it's likely. I am only in for it in like basically one circumstance. He hits a hat trick in the next game or two.
Okay.
You know, if you're sitting at 67 and you got 5 games left, you know, like then it's like, all right, like that's just his kind of average pace. Maybe let's see this thing through. But no, like to be honest, I don't even like how hard he's playing when they're up like 2 goals. Like a night like tonight, they're up 2 for, 5 minutes left. He should be trying to score. It's the best thing for the team. It's a dumb thing to say by me, but like
I love it.
He really seems to be like hounding that next one.
Yes, I love it.
Which is fine.
I love it. I cannot get enough of it. I've repeated myself over and over, and I keep repeating myself. You know why? Because he has 64 freaking goals. And so he keeps forcing me to talk about it. But I just, like, I believe in getting in a groove, and I believe in the power of momentum. And I don't know if it carries series to series with everybody, but having something that keeps this Leafs team engaged, having something where Domi and Bertuzzi are just dying every night to try and get this guy goals, and then having your goal scorer feel like, man, I'm the man. I am the king of all kings. I might do something
the man.
That hasn't happened since the 90s. Let me cook. Let me do it. Let's see me roll into that next year. If they're going to play Florida, right, in the first round of the playoffs, what better way to keep the way that last year went out of his mind than to be rolling in with 70 goals and the whole world talking about you and what you've accomplished. I just don't think there's anything better for their confidence.
I don't know. I feel like that puts them in the crosshairs, doesn't it? If it's like everyone's
the Toronto Maple Leafs best player in a year where they're going in the first round, you're afraid of him being in the crosshairs. He's as crosshairs that it get. You can't get any. You can't pull over any further. Like
you can't pulled over.
Pulled over.
That's my all-time favorite movie. Okay, that's a reasonable point. That is pretty much max attention that you can get. I suppose it kind of is what it is. I guess for Kip on our show, and his echoes a lot of people's sentiment that he doesn't want to see it become the chase and the story, and it's about the team. And so to that point, I don't want to see him need 3 goals in the last 2 games and play when they're resting other guys. I don't want to see that sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, if it happens in a more natural sense, it doesn't bother me any.
Yeah, I think everyone would agree with that. And I think Matthews would agree with that. I think if he was sitting on 67 in the final 2 games of a back-to-back, I don't think he's going to press for it. But
I did want him to get McDavid, though. It was important to me that, like, if you're a Leafs fan, McDavid had 1 year where he's like, I'm going to do the goals thing, and I'm going to do it better than Matthews. You don't want Matthews to never get to that number. So that was good.
Totally agree. And I just think, like, if he's at 68 though, or 69, he's playing. Like you're putting him in.
It's funny.
You don't have the guts to sit him if you're Sheldon Keefe, and I don't think you want to mess with it. To me, that feels very much, and I've already made this analogy a million times, but feels very Curtis Painter with the Colts, where you mess with success. You put in the backup quarterback when you have a chance to go 16-0, and you completely derail the momentum of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. We had Adam Oates on our show the other day, and he had 97 assists one year going into the last game. He was 98, and they were resting guys, and they arrested Ray Bork, and he was like literally talked to Bork and was like, "You're playing. Like, we need you. I need you in there to get to this number." And Bork's like, "No, I'm not."
Yeah.
But Oates is like, it was important to him that he got there. He didn't.
Yeah.
And so I get that, guys, that this stuff matters. It's, it takes a whole season to build up to that. Tough to get to near the summit and be like, this isn't the best thing for my health to take another step.
Yeah. Again, I think that they'll be reasonable with this thing. So maybe I'm just like downplaying it to a certain degree because of this. Like maybe I'm putting trust in the wrong place because players do care so much about milestones, but yeah, I think it's going to be interesting all the way down the stretch. And I love that every time he scores a goal, it presses all the people that are terrified that this guy's going to be just continuing to hunt it and drives himself into the ground doing it. I have one other question for you about the lines, which is, so it's pretty clear that the top six looks fine when you do this.
Yeah.
The real wild card is, what do you get on a Nylander? And he has a nice play where he puts a puck on net. Nye scores a goal that I think you're hoping that future Nye scores a lot of, which is kind of being in front of the net, bodying somebody, and then finishing a play. But then this line also gave one up. And I genuinely, I hate saying this stuff because it makes it feel like it's polarizing, but I did think that there were moments in tonight where you got kind of like a disengaged Nylander, where he's kind of like hanging out for large stretches, which whatever, maybe that's just Nylander and that's partially the experience. But what do you think of that line in particular? Because I think this is the biggest wild card.
Yeah. I think it's a lot easier sell for the other two, for Matthews and Marner not playing together. You can say to Matthews, Domi still makes great passes and he's a pass first guy, and Bird will be at the net. You can sell it to Marner that McMahon can really finish and Tavares can finish. What are you offering Nylander? What's the sale? So it's a tougher sell for him. But the one thing is, he's the one guy that doesn't seem to care. He doesn't seem to need the ego fed in the same way the other guys. He kind of just does his thing. I'm more prone to believe that tonight is like a shrug for Nylander than it is like pouting. I just don't think he's much of a powder type guy. So I think he'll be all right.
Yeah, I think so too. I just wondered with tonight, like he played over 20 minutes and I kind of wanted to see him have a little bit of like getting the puck on net. He only ended up with 2 shots in the 20 minutes. By the way, Matthews under 20 again, which I think is part of this. Like, you're pursuing it, but they're also doing a bit of the load management in the games, making sure that his shifts are not crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I did want to go over this, like in terms of a breakdown too. Joe, can you run the Habs' second goal? Because Holmberg goes and follows like around the net here. Like and that is to you what? Because my biggest fear with this line is still, can Holmberg play center? I don't think that this has really been answered. And can he play center in meaningful minutes on a playoff team?
Yeah. I think he's pretty responsible. So that is a play where you totally have that right, where if Benoit is going to take him, if you're going to hand him off, then he should, fall back and pick up probably the guy who ends up shooting the puck in the net there. I don't know how many games Holmberg has played this year. There's not many moments where I feel like mental breakdowns in the D zone are a problem. He's pretty good at thinking this stuff through, and definitely not the perfect moment here, but I do think he can do it. But you're right, like in that, when you have an inexperienced center, you look at Stanley Cup champions the past X amount of years, not a lot of rookies playing meaningful minutes, so it's a big ask. And it's one of the places you don't feel awesome. I trust him defensively, but maybe you don't feel awesome about it.
Yeah. I did want to just get your opinion on it, because it looks like it is not the right play to be making.
Yeah. The two of them are like, both like trying to catch the same pop fly in the infield.
Yeah. His defenseman is there and he's like very far on the outside. And then all of a sudden 2 of them are below the red line and the puck's in the back of your net. I'm like, that's an ugly look.
He's watching that get shot in and be like,
he's sticking. He's focused. Yeah. And you can even kind of see his body language. He's like, that's not going to look good on film.
No, I'm going to hear about that.
I'm probably going to hear about that one. Okay. Anything else from you from this game? I think Samsonov was all right. I liked Lyubushkin putting a puck on the net for the first goal. It was like,
I
look
also
at him
liked
go.
him punching Josh Anderson, being mean to him. Ryan Reaves is like impactful in a way that I very much enjoy.
Love it.
Yeah. I mean,
the Reaves discourse gives me life.
Yeah. Well, it's, I can't remember a guy though whose skating has improved in season. Like in the early part of the season, I didn't think he'd get around. Tonight he separates on a breakaway, almost scores, and just bullies Pizzetta, who's not in his weight class, eh?
I was going to say this. I felt really bad for Pizzetta because you can kind of see him like backing out. He's like, oh, damn it. Like, I really don't want this. And then he tries to go in. He's like, I hate this so much. This just feels like when you're the older brother bullying the younger brother. And he's just like in that cower stance of like, oh no. And then it happens. And then it's just like, yeah, guess what happened? Exactly what you thought was going to happen.
But in the penalty box, Pizzetta was like, you only hit me once. Like he was saying, if we get a John Boy on that, he's saying you only hit me once. And Reaves is like, yeah, you're looking the wrong way the whole time.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one where you try to say something, but like, you know the truth.
You only hit me once. It's like your helmet's off your head because it got punched off.
Yeah, you want to be like, do it again. Like Reaves just, I love that Reaves has kind of gotten back in the mix of grabbing the belt. Like since he fought Rempe, it feels like dangerous Reaves is back. And again, this stuff's probably not going to happen in the playoffs. But I do like the option of having it if something does arise.
Well, like, and it's not worth anything if the threat isn't real, and he's shown that the threat is still real.
Yeah. The threat is very real. As there's a guy that got, I think, put in concussion protocol because of Ryan Reaves yesterday.
A guy who they may play in playoffs. Tanner Jeannot.
They bonked Tanner. He bonked Tanner Jeannot. He gave him a very nasty overhand right.
See the video of the boys on the bench watching it?
Yeah, you sent it to me. I tweeted it out, and I was like, "This is." It's like, again, I belabor this, and I know I'm a caveman or whatever, but I just cannot believe that people think that there are people out there that think like fighting has zero place in hockey when you see hockey players react that way on a bench and the way the crowd looks when those moments are happening. Like, I just don't know how you could be so disconnected from reality to try to stand on a soapbox that like no one's asking you to anymore. Like Ryan Reaves is not asking for you to stand up for him. Like he's fine. He's feeling good about that fight. Like Tanner Jeannot will take that fight over and over and over again. And both of those teams were ecstatic that it happened. Like
I have the crossing guard test. There's this crossing guard at my daughter's school that when I drop off my, drop her off in the morning, he'll make a comment about the Leafs game before. And that's like what is like what I should be talking about on radio that day. Yeah. It's like the thing that like stands out to people who are watching the game. And, Reaves is that. Reaves on Jeannot is definitely the highlight of that game for my guy, Dave. I love it.
100%. By the way, I love that so much. Crossing guard test is, that's just a chef's kiss segment. Like that is
free content. What do you got today, Dave?
What is today's shopping or crossing guard test? I think that's it for me. Anything else for you?
That's all, pal.
All right, beautiful. Please subscribe to this podcast if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify. Hit the thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube, and leave a comment if you would like. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at JD Bunkis, at JT Bourne. You and I are back together to close out the season, actually, because McKee is off. I think the 16th, you and I are doing that last Panthers game. Sammy is on tomorrow. I'm going to the Blue Jays home opener, or not tomorrow, but Monday's game. So it'll be Sammy and Justin Cuthbert, and then it'll be McKee and I, and you and I the rest of the way. And then, all three of us for playoffs. I can't wait. We're so close.
Whole teams together for the ones that count, baby.
Of course. Absolutely it is. Exactly. You put the right lines together for the playoffs, and that's what we're doing. For JD Bunkis and Justin Bourne, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.